Amrita, the Divine Nectar by Tristan Darling. I started to feel a sweet liquid which trickles down the back of my throat, which seems to be connected to my spiritual practice. It tastes actually amazing and is sweet but bitter at the same time. Do you know what it is? The answer. This is a substance called Amrita. The word means nectar and also immortal in Sanskrit. It is a substance which is produced by the human body once the flow of Kundalini through the central channel becomes strong. Sexual fluids and essences are drawn up into the bladder through a process called natural vajola. From here, prana from these essences rise up in the Manipura chakra and mixes with other pranas there. This is the reason that the Manipura chakra is sometimes called the cauldron in other traditions. A substance called soma is produced as a result of this mixture of the pranas, and this is drawn up through the body into the head. Soma is also an etheric substance, non-physical, so it travels through the systems of subtle energetic pathways which compromise the pranic body. Once it reaches the head, it is transformed into Amrita. The Amrita can then trickle down into the mouth where it can be tasted. Amrita can also bubble up through the higher chakras, especially the crown, the third eye, and the chakra on the top back of the head called the Bindu chakra. When the Amrita comes out of the highest chakras, it is still then trickled down the head and face. It feels like the drops of oil or honey as it comes down. The Amrita is then reabsorbed into the subtle neurology to be reused. It is very blissful and intoxicating experience, and is one of the fruits of yoga. Brahmacharya is the important aspect in the production of Amrita, as a loss of sexual fluids and energy through sexual activity can inhibit its production. Amrita, our true identity and nectar of immortality, created by Yoga Tech. Amrita is a Sanskrit term with two translations, one of them being immortality, and the other one being nectar. It is said that Amrita is related to the Greek word ambrosia, which also translates into nectar. In Sanskrit, the word Amrita carries two very different meanings with the word itself. But one could argue that the two different purposes still are connected, since both of them are related to an elevated state of self-awareness. A self-awareness to strive for, connecting you to the universe. This high level of self-awareness is said to be reached through online yoga practice and meditation. One of the meanings behind Amrita is that it's another name for the deathless spirit Atman. Atman is the transcendent self, or spirit, which is eternal and superconscious. Atman is said to be our true nature or identity and our most inner self. In Hindu, Atman is said to be the individual soul and the innermost deep part of all living beings. The human body itself can age, die, and wither, but the Atman will continue to live always, moving forward from one body to the next, continuing to arrive until it reaches Brahman. Each person's Atman is said to be a part of the universal Brahman, which is believed to be the ultimate reality. When practicing yoga and meditation, you can increase self-awareness and self-knowledge, which can lead to the revelation of the inner self. According to Hindu, the word Amrita was used to describe a drink known as soma. The legend says that soma was given to the gods, making them immortal. The other meaning of Amrita refers to the nectar of immortality that is said to flow through our pituitary glands into the back of the throat during the deeper stages of meditation produced by the body itself. When you reach a state of meditation where your Amrita flows, it is said that you have achieved to a higher level of self-awareness and a deep sense of consciousness. Reaching Amrita is said to turn our bodies into the divine body, Diva de Delta, that final destination turning us into a perfect being, Siddha. Amrita, the liquid of immortality, is like nectar. It excludes from the Chandra center in the back of the head, deep below the eyebrows. Who swallows the clear liquid dripping from the brain into the heart and obtained by means of meditation becomes free from disease and tender in the body like the stalk of a lotus and will live a very long life. Hatha Yoga Pradaka. Kurma Nadi, Journeying the Ocean for Nectar by Pandit Rajani Tugat, PhD, August 20, 2018. While practicing samana, concentration, meditation, and samadhi, on Kurma Nadi, one attains stability of mind and thereby stability of body. Yoga Sutra 332. Churning the ocean for nectar. In Indian mythology, there is a story that the two aspects of creation, the bright and dark, good and bad, both hear that there is a nectar or liquid that, if drunk, would provide immortality. There had been an ongoing war between the demonic forces and the divine forces for thousands of years. Sometimes the constructive forces won, and sometimes the destructive forces won. Both were strong and wanted victory. So when each heard that there was a divine, immortal nectar, they went to the Creator, who is the Father of both good and bad, and each said, I pray to you, Father, can you tell me how to get the nectar? Yes, the Creator replied, churn the ocean, and you will obtain it. From poison to nectar. How would they turn up a huge ocean? Neither side could do it by themselves. So they found an alliance and came up with an idea. They would use the Himalayas as the churning rod Then the problem was to find something long enough to wrap around that they would be able to pull back and forth. Together, they went to the cosmic state called Vaslud, who is millions of miles long and required its help, and the snake agreed. So the gods caught hold of the tail of the snakes, and the demons caught hold of the mouth of the snake. They wrapped it around the Himalayas and started to churn. But there was another problem. The Himalayas were sinking. Humbly, they approached the cosmic turtle and asked, "Will you please hold the Himalayas on your back and be steady so that we can churn?" Just before you obtain the best and brightest, you sometimes go through the darkest phase of life. Obtaining its assistance, they began again, and as a result of their effort, one by one, wonderful things appeared. The rarest jewels, the best horse, the greatest elephant, the wisest doctor, the goodness of health, Lakshmi, the goddess of health, of wealth, Lakshmi. All these great things came out of the ocean. But the 13th thing to arise was a cosmic poison. Just before you obtain the best and brightest, you sometimes go through the darkest phase of life. However, no one on either side was ready to accept that. The whole world was scorching, burning from the heat of the cosmic poison. People were dying. Together they approached Shiva, who was above all pairs of opposites, pain and pleasure, and said, "We don't know how to drink this. We are looking for the nectar, not his poison." So Shiva drank the poison. The Great One knew how to drink it in such a skillful way that he did not go into the stomach, but he was held at the throat. The terrible poison was turned into a blue necklace. So one of Shiva's names is now Nikhanda, the Lord with the blue throat. Shiva is the one who knows the art of drinking poison and converting the bad into good without swallowing. The one who can live skillfully in the world and yet remain uninfected. And then the nectar arose from the ocean, and the story goes on from there. Finding a firm foundation. In this story, the tortoise is the foundation. Karma Nadi. If the tortoise moves, if the Himalayas move, then the serpent Kundalini cannot help anyone. The inhalation and the exhalation, the gods and the demons, are both pulling the snake, and by pulling one another, by taking turns, they move the Himalayas, the spine. They churn it constantly. By churning the Himalayas held tightly on the tortoise, the sadhana, or student, one day obtains the nectar. As we saw all through, the gods and the demons expected nectar. When they churned up first, they receive the outer things, the jewels, the horse, the elephant, and so on, the distractions. Then, before the nectar, the best came. There was the poison. You have to drink the poison. If you're not capable of assimilating it or drinking it and making the best use of it, then you have to develop the greatest of all forces, called surrender. When you surrender, the Great One Shiva can come and drink the poison on your behalf. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. It'd still be a very tough time. Every student goes through this phase in sadhana, but when he is bewildered and frustrated and is almost ready to drop everything, he can call for help, just like Arjuna did in the Bhagavad Gita. Please, Krishna, I can't fight anymore. Then Krishna has to come and help, or Shiva has to come. The Lord within has to come forward and help. This is called grace, the descending force. The Lord catches hold of your hand and says, "Walk with me, my child. I will help you." Kurma Nadi, the tortoise within. We can all find our own foundation by understanding and gaining mystery over the tortoise within. Karma Nadi. There are 15 main nadis: Shashuma, Ida, Bengali, Gardari, Hasvara, Kulu, Sarvati, Pushti, Shabhimli, Bayanki, Varmi, Alatri, Vishnara, Yishvardhavini, and Kuma. Karma in Sanskrit means tortoise or turtle. Kurma Nadi is related to Karma Prana. In Yoga Sutra 332, it is said, Karmante Siddhani, that while practicing Samaya, the threefold concentration, meditation, and samadhi on Karma Nadi, one attains stability of mind and thereby stability of the body. The first movement of Kundalini begins at the bottom of the spine, at the Kurma Nadi. When is this Kurma Nadi, and what does it do? Where is this Kurma Nadi, and what does it do? There are differing opinions. According to several Yoga Sutras commentaries, it is the hollow of the throat. It is true that by concentrating here, one attains freedom from hunger and thirst. But attaining freedom from hunger and thirst doesn't necessarily help to achieve stability of mind and body. There may still be other desires and urges to satisfy. Many other yoga manuals and commentaries, however, said that the Karma Nadi is at the bottom of the spine, between the anus and the genital organs, the locations for Asmuti Mudra. The problem we face is that in the scriptures we find so many contradictory interpretations that ultimately we have to go to an experienced teacher. Karma Nadi doesn't lead you anywhere. Rather, it helps you stay steady and allows other nadis to function in their specific range, in their specific field. The other nadis originate from the top of the Karma Nadi. The spine, Ida, and Pingala all stem from there. One can say, well, I'll concentrate on Sushumna and forget all the other nadis, because my purpose will be to accomplish just by having Sushumna under my control. That is certainly true, but Sushumna also rests on the top of the Karma Nadi, and the Karma Nadi is not stable. How can you expect the stability of Sushumna, Ida, or Pingala to be stable? That is the point. According to Swami Rama Swami, the very first movement of Kundalini begins at the bottom of the spine, at the Kurma Nadi, that takes place, which is the centermost part of your body when you are sitting comfortably with your head, neck, and trunk aligned. When your whole body is perfectly centered, then your entire center of gravity is at the Kuma Nadi. As long as that Nadi is in good shape, stable, and doesn't move, your mind is also steady. Mastery over the Kuma Nadi. Theoretically, there is a much greater possibility of opening Sushumna while sitting in other Padasana, lotus posture, or sadhana, accomplished pose, because the whole body is centered in these poses. In sadhasa, one's best is not on your perineum. One's best is on your perineum area. In padasana, the body is perfectly centered. The nadis on both sides of the body are fully balanced. If you have a good padasana, then the body is even better centered than sananha. However, these two poses are often done incorrectly. You can injure your knees or create hemorrhoids if you do sadhana incorrectly. Similarly, if you are too forceful in your padasana and artificially impose a lock in your pose, you can create hemorrhoids. Swamiji used to discourage the use of padasana as a meditation posture because the area of the Kuma Nadi tends to be too open and not under your control in that posture. So these practices are to be done mindfully and in moderation. If you can sit in these positions correctly, they can be beneficial. If not, they can cause more harm than good. Control over the karma nadi is more important than anything else in the practice of pranayama or meditation. To gain conscious control over both the karma nadi and the kara and the kuma vaya, one of the subcategories of prana, which refers to stability in the body as well as in the mind. It is important to practice Ashruta Mudra. Anatomically and physiology, the area of the Ashrut Mudra is close to the colon, ovaries, uterus, and bladder. So each time you're doing Ashuddha Mudra, pulling up and releasing, you are attracting conscious control over all these organs. This also speeds up the process of blood circulation throughout your system. In the process, you can also letting your karma varga move, creating heat. That heat is dispersed throughout your body. From the karma nadi, or karma vayu, through Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna to all the nadis. Although Ashva Mudra doesn't give stability to mind and body on its own, it does increase the proper circulation of energy throughout our system. So wherever there is a little bit of blockage, whatever there is a little bit of impurity here or there, that energy will touch it and the process of purification will begin. In meditation, however, Ashva Mudra is the use. Mula Bandha, the root lock, is pulled up and held. This creates stability in our own physical body as well as energetically. The realm of Karma Vaya. Karma Vaya holds all the other Vayas. It is the scenery of the interior. Before you undertake any risk or protect, your internal situations has to be stable. Otherwise, if you are disturbed, it will be necessary to deal with that situation, and all other projects will either go very slowly or have to be stopped. Control over the karma nadi is more important than anything in the practice of pranayama or meditation. That is what is holding mula bandha, the root lock. Does it? Should it become so effortlessly that it is held by itself, leaving the mind entirely free, so that all the mental energy can be fully directed towards the object of meditation? Its mula bandha here is a generated in such a state way, and the mind is concentrated, and Sushumna is open. The energy will only move upward. In that state, the head, the fire, pranic force, or kundalini force that wakes up from the kundalini nadi, from the kunda nadi, moves along Sushumna, becomes meditative energy, and enhancing the being of your meditation. Ashanti mudra is for a physical being, whereas Nadi Bandha is for meditative benefit. The people for whom Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras did not know anatomy, so he did not describe the karma nadi, how it works, or why it helps anatomically. He simply suggested that one sits on the floor that is neither too hard nor too soft. Be sturdy and focus on the breath. Swamiji has introduced this very systematically. Sit with the head, neck, and trunk in a straight line. Draw out the root lock. Be comfortable and steady. In other words, the basic practice develop control over the karma nadi, and thus you purify yourself to prepare for the rising of Kundalini. As you are working with your karma nadi by practicing the use Himalayas Institute method of meditation. If so, you're already doing it, whether you know the name of karma nadi or not. If you are cooking your food with fire, whether you call it fire or not, it doesn't matter. You are getting the same results. So observe how you sit and the way you allow your body to be still. Remember to practice samana, concentration, meditation, and samadhi on the karma nadi while sitting and breathing in the correct way. You will gain control over karma vaya, allowing you to attain stability of body and mind. Source: Divine Magazine, 1990. Kichi Mudra, Tongue Lock, Steps, Benefits, and more. Sourced: First one. Perhaps you have heard yogis drinking nectar from inside of their head. In Hatha Yoga Pidaka, yoga considers Kichi Mudra as a practice to taste the bliss of nectar. What is Kichi Mudra? Kichi Mudra is the type of Mani Mudra. Mudra involves heel, in which the tongue is rolled up back and drawn deep to the narrow pharynx, nasal cavity. Then tongue is located back then into the nasal cavity behind the palate, so it's called tongue lock. Because Kichimudra stimulates the master gland pituitary, situated behind the nasal cavity, it's also king of all mudras. In spiritual language, the pituitary gland is the synonym of the third eye that is said to bring yogis to the highest stage of consciousness. To do this mudra, a practitioner should first practice rolling of the tongue. With consistent practice, the tongue becomes flexible and it can be elongated to the pit of the throat. This is the point which as stimulation begins flowing, the Amrita, nectar of immortality. Kichi Mudra is also a technique of Kriya Yoga, which Tavana Kriya, tongue-palate exercise, practiced prior to it. In Tavita Kriya, the tongue is stretched in and out repeatedly so it becomes flexible and long enough to do Kichi Mudra. The easy version of Kichi Mudra is called Naho Mudra, when a practitioner is not able to touch the uvula, lower part of the nasal cavity. In this mudra, the tongue is pressed against the soft palate only. It's also called small Kichi Mudra. Kichi Mudra, meaning. Kichi has two root words, ka and char. Ka means Brahman or space, which is infinite. Cha means obstacle-free, moving or flying. Mudra means a symbolic gesture. Kichi Mudra means a symbolic gesture of moving freely in the infinite space of Brahman. How is it so? Because Kichi Mudra left the tongue to pierce to the top and stimulates the pituitary gland. When the secretion of this gland takes place, it makes practitioners feel the bliss of moving freely into the infinite space of Brahman. Here in this video, Kriya Yoga Master Swami Nityananda Guri has described and demonstrated the Kichi Mudra. Kichi Mudra demonstration by Swami Nityananda Guri. Preparation. To practice Kichi Mudra, Hatha Yoga Pridaka mentioned freelum, skin below tongue that links it with the gums, should be cut in order to increase the extension of the tongue. Only recommended under the guidance of an experienced teacher, but it can be achieved without cutting freelum, as mentioned in Kriya Yoga and Raja Yoga. In order to prepare for Kichi Mudra, it can be done by exercising tongue and Talya Kriya, doing Nablo Mudra, tongue to the soft palate for the first few months. The tongue can be stretched like any other muscle. To prepare the tongue for Kichi Mudra, milking of the tongue is done for a few months before actual practice begins. Kichi Mudra, steps and stages. One should sit in a meditative pose and fix gaze to the center space between the eyes, third eye chakra. Close your mouth, take a few deep breaths, and this can do normal breathing. As a beginner, you can keep your mouth open to be more aware of tongue movement. Kichi Mudra, step 1. Soft palate to uvula, source, first one. To begin Kichi Mudra, extend your tongue up and then roll it back to reach as far as you can. Initially, the tongue may barely reach to the hard palate. Do fake swallowing to slide tongue up to the soft palate. Do it 3 to 4 times until your tongue rests comfortably at the soft palate. Now try to slide your tongue further into the mouth. If you can't do it by simple means, you can push the back of the tongue with your clean finger. Reach with the tongue at the bottom of your mouth where it touches the uvula a punching bag-like structure in your mouth, hanging over your tongue. Once you reach this, do it 3 to 4 times to get your tongue comfortably up to this point. Khichari Mudra Stage 2, passing the uvula. Now, as your tongue touching the uvula, open your glottis and touch and mouth quickly to blow a bit of air inside the throat. This strong burst of air will push rolled tongue behind the uvula, and you and your tongue will ready to enter into the narrow pharynx. Khichari Mudra Stage 3, slipping tongue into the nasospharynx. Once tongue makes its way behind the uvula, now it's time to find a place behind the uvula from where the tongue doesn't come to its previous position. This part will come naturally. The tongue will become slipping, but at the same time, there would be a strong urge of throwing off tongue. Keep breathing slowly. Observe what's happening inside your mouth. One just needs to come over this urge by observing the situation. Eventually, your tongue will start slipping into the nasal pharynx behind the soft place. This will take time, will take tongue to be upmost, where it touches a bony structure called the pituitary gland. Khichari Mudra Stage 4, pressing pituitaries to secrete nectar. Up to this point, the tongue has reached beyond the top of the pharynx. You will feel an emptiness in the mouth on reaching up to this point. Tongue touching at the topmost point, here is nothing but space between your third eye, where you are asked to focus on it at the beginning of this practice. Psychologically, this is the seat of the pituitary gland, the master gland of the body. When the tongue presses against this, it gets stimulated. Some fluids will start accumulating in your mouth, but saliva won't be swallowed as long as your tongue remains up. Slowly bring your tongue down to the natural position, and you will find the taste of saliva accumulated inside your mouth. In the beginning, the taste of it will be bitter. It is a sign of detoxification of your body system, but with practice, you will realize the bitter taste becomes sweet, like honey, strawberry, and buttery taste. It's called Amrita, the bliss of nectar. And Hatha Yoga, Pridapka, wording of Khichari Mudra, working mechanics of Khichari Mudra in relation to chakras. The throat in our body is the junction point between the first 5 chakras associated with the 5 elements and the last 2 chakras beyond the earthly elements. Because of this junction, prana flow at the throat level gets interrupted, and our brain centers don't get enough prana, vital energy. Therefore, our minds distract often when we try to focus on one thought or one place. In Khichari Mudra, when the tongue is extended out to the pit of the throat, it creates a lock at this junction point. Hence, it's called tongue lock mudra. Now, prana can easily travel through this bypass to the higher chakras, Ajna and Sahasrara chakra. In this way, prana starts flowing freely and the mind becomes relaxed and focused. Khichari Mudra benefits. One who accomplishes this Khichari Mudra is neither troubled by disease nor death, lassitude, sleep, hunger, thirst, or unconsciousness. Hatha Yoga Pridaka 339. This mudra opens up blocked salivary glands and prevents painful systems of salivary gland disorders. As Kichi mudra stimulates the pituitary gland, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. On parasympathetic system activation, your body conserves energy by slowing down the heart rate, low breath rate, 5 to 8 breaths per minute, and you feel relaxed. Kichi mudra with Brahmari pranayama is a very effective practice in case of hearing impairment and forgetfulness, dementia. Tongue rolled inside is a symbol of restraining your senses to go outwards. Also, if we fix the tongue in one place, like in this mudra, it's very difficult to talk to yourself. Eventually, thoughts get reduced. This way, Kichi mudra is very helpful to draw mind inwards. That makes meditation much easier. The regular practice of Kichi mudra removes symptoms of aging. It stimulates the pituitary gland that secretes growth hormones, also called anti-aging elixir. Kichi mudra with Ujjayi breathing balances the secretion of the thyroid gland. Balanced secretion of the thyroid gland is very important to have a better metabolism, optimal body weight growth, and development. Kichi mudra brings many spiritual powers like third eye chakra awakening, recognition, and extrasensory perception. It's a cleansing practice also there at the secretion of nectar detoxifies the body, clears the tongue, gag, and prevents bad breath. Kichi mudra meditation is an effective technique to be in a tranquil state of mind. This mudra locks the air inside the lungs and prevents exhalation in deep meditation, which doesn't let our awareness to be scattered. It makes the tongue more sensitive to taste, an individual element. Hence, Panchtava elements, 5 elements, dominancy or deficiency can be addressed easily by mastering this mudra. 5 tastes. Relation to the 5 elements: sweet, earth, sour, air, salty, water, pungent, ether, bitter, fire. Precautions. However, there are no side effects of Kichi mudra, but one can notice blood sticking to the tip tongue, which while managing the tongue to reach the end of the nasal cavity. There is nothing to fear in this. One should keep following precautions in mind. This mudra is not advised to do without any guidance from an expert teacher. A low-protein diet should be taken while preparing for this mudra. Mastering stages 1 and 2 only itself can take around 6 to 7 months of practice, so it's not advised to practice all stages the first day only. A beginner should practice stage 1 until it gets comfortable. Cutting of the furlong is done at an early stage and strictly advised to do under the guidance of a guru. Final words. Kichi mudra is called king of all mudras because of its capability to stimulate the master gland of the body. Even if you are, as a beginner, isn't able to do full Kichi mudra, small Kichi mudra brings many benefits at the physical level. You can do this mudra anytime, but it's highly recommended during the meditation session So whenever you sit for meditation, hold your tongue against the soft palate, and you will see it becomes easy to control your thoughts, minimal thoughts. Perseverance. All beings on this earth has an expiration date marked to them. We can't see it, and we don't know when the end will come, only that it will come. Masters spend their lives reminding us that our stay in this world is limited, and they offer us a path to the unlimited. They tell us that in every one of us there is a thirst to find lasting truth, happiness, and peace. We try to quench this thirst by every possible means: family and friends, girlfriends and boyfriends, worldly achievements and riches. All of this keeps us busy, going from one activity to another, but none of it satisfies us because this thirst is for something higher, something that is already within us and is our real essence. Somoji says in the star-sparkling poetry, "Why do you drink water, O swan soul? There's an ocean of nectar within you, which you can drink just by withdrawing your consciousness inside." Just as there are many different words for water, that substance we drink to satisfy our physical thirst, there are many different words for the inner nectar that will satisfy our spiritual thirst. Saints have called this inner nectar the Shabda, Holy Ghost, Word, and many other names. It's not the words that matter, but that inner reality. Saints give us the method of meditation to withdraw our attention to this nectar, this voice of God within us, but it isn't too easy to reach this everlasting bliss. That's why saints stress the importance of perseverance in our efforts to have our own direct inner experience of truth of the Lord within us. Helen Keller, a woman who became deaf and blind at 19 months of age, tells a story in her autobiography, The Story of My Life, about how she learned through direct experience. Her teacher, Anne Sullivan, was trying to teach Helen to connect letters and words with the names of objects. At first, Helen thought her teacher was just playing a game. Helen memorized the words, but failed to realize that these words were the names of actual objects. It was until April 5th, 1887, when her teacher took Helen to an old pump house that Helen finally understood. Sullivan put one of Helen's hands under the stream of water coming from the pump and began spelling water into the palm of her other hand. Helen writes, "As the cool stream gushed over one hand, she spelled into the other the word water, first slowly, then rapidly. I stood still, my whole attention fixated upon the motions of her fingers. Suddenly, I felt a misty consciousness as of something forgotten, a thrill of returning thought, and somehow the mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew that water meant the wonderful, cool something that was flowing over my hand. The loving word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, joy, set it free. There were barriers still, it is true, but barriers that could in time be swept away. Helen's understanding came after much effort and with much persistence on her part, and with the help of a remarkable teacher. Neither Helen nor her teacher was deterred by her past failures. They pressed on, and ultimately Helen developed an exceptional capability for communication and became one of the most admired and inspiring people in the world. On the spiritual path, we sometimes get hung up on the idea of success or failure, and we allow our lack of understanding to get in the way of persistence. In spiritual perspectives, Maharaj Charan Singh defines failure, and in doing so shows its value. Failure means that I had done my best to attain to meditation, but I couldn't succeed. Failure doesn't mean that I never attended to meditation. That is not failure. That is not even attempting. Failure means I have done my best. I have given my time. I have lived the way of life where I have been trying to build up my treasure. From every point of view, I have been keeping myself clean, but I have not achieved anything within myself. So that is my failure. That effort will not be lost. That is what is meant by failure. So our attempt is then our efforts are there, but the results are not in our hands. From that point of view, we could say that we have failed, but there is no failure. Even from a worldly perspective, perseverance in the face of so-called failure is essential. Sohomudo Honda, founder of Honda Motors, said, "Success can be only achieved through repeated failure and introspection. In fact, success represents 1% of your work, which results only from the 99% that is called failure. When we are committed to accomplishing a goal, we naturally make continued efforts, even when we do not achieve immediate success. Honda understood that repeated effort is necessary for any meaningful success. It is only through persistence that we continue our efforts long enough to get to the 1% of the efforts that lead to success. As Honda recognizes that 1% and the other 99% are both viable, and we cannot have one without the other. Masters see clearly that what we call failure is a necessary part of our spiritual growth, just as Honda recognized that repeated effort and failure are integral to business and engineering success. In Spiritual Perspectives, Volume 2, Maharaj Charan Singh says, "Any time we devote to meditation, however imperfect that meditation be, it is so to our credit. It helps us to grow towards the path, so we should not think that our meditation is not very qualitative. We should think that it should at least be qualitative. Automatically, quality comes with quantity. If we don't start, we will never learn to walk. If we start, then naturally we fall also. We get bruises also. But as long as we get up and start walking again, we will ultimately learn. Our difficulties and failure in meditation have a part to play in our ultimate growth. For one thing, they provide us with a necessary lesson in humility. If we were to instantly have inner peace, perhaps we would think that these things are in our control. The truth is, as long as we identify with our bodies and minds, We are limited individuals putting forth limited efforts which can never be sufficient to enable us to reach the unlimited one. Our transformation will only take place when we come to a higher level. This can never happen with an ego-based approach. It can only happen with the Lord's grace, the help of the living Master, and the magic of love. Azar says in Die to Love, I only come when we don't do it. When we truly meditate, then I just disappears. Then we realize His grace. What counts is not what we achieve, but how much we try with sincerity. Then, with persistence and perseverance, just as Helen Keller was able to grow with the help of her teacher, we will surely succeed. Let's give it everything we can and always strive to keep our love fresh. For those who have love, nothing else matters. As you pursue regularly in meditation, you get ample joy and peace, which compensates for your labors and makes you cheerful and patiently look forward to ultimate victory. Charnsing. Whether you are knocking very softly at the door, whether you are knocking very hard at the door, and whether you are frightened to knock on the door and only shouting, you are at the door, and you want the door to be open to you. Even if we are nervous to knock, our intention is that the door should open and we should get admission. All efforts are there. Everybody has a different approach, but everybody who is on the path wants the door to be open. When we're sitting in meditation, whether we are knocking or whether we are too nervous to knock, we want the door to be open. This is why we are giving time to meditate. Trillions of nerve cells firing off together. I find it fascinating that in any given moment, trillions of nerve cells are firing off inside of you. This human body is so incredible. And yet, we are almost oblivious to it, except for the ones who want to realize the grandeur that we are. I often say many times that the more attention you pay to something, the more attention it pays to you. Now, I'm not joking when I say that. And unfortunately, in this world, we pay most attention to the world in front of us and never to our true nature. Consequently, we are always struggling and treading water in the ocean of life. At times, the ocean is perfectly calm. For the next moment, a huge storm comes in, and you have to hold on for dear life. This is the nature of the world, my friend. During my research on this project and book, I've run across many different ways throughout the ages where people discovered unique places inside this human body. It seems to me that each organ has a unique chemical signature that can be released at any given time if given the proper conditions. Because we are on an autopilot most of the time, it is probably by chance that we may feel the benefit of these precious chemicals and elixirs. These chemicals chemicals and elixirs can help not only the body, but purify the mind. Both the scientists and the mystics are looking for the same thing. I admire the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's taken a scientific approach to understanding the jewel that lies within us. Around 10 years ago, he was about ready to give up his work. He was working for around 10 years, and most people came to his seminars mostly for the theory and philosophy. They didn't want to do the work. Since then, thousands of people come to his seminars and are excited to do the work. A huge transformation occurred. People started having miraculous experiences. Each person was different and unique and came to the seminar for a different reason. During the course of these years, many neuroscientists have come to the events with their latest technology and mapped the various incredible brain maps of the individual. Not only that, but they took stool samples, blood samples, and a swab from the mouth. They now have thousands of documented cases of the latest scientific experiments on hand. The, the actual on hand and the actual testimonies from his students. The world for the mystic and scientist is coming together. I love to see that diversity, also with many of the world's religions. Each one of these religions has her own unique way of discovering these inner cocktails of life. The way I see it, and there is not a single way. If there is a single way, it is to use your chemistry set towards maximum potential. God's elixir of chemicals exists inside every single cell of your body. At a subtle level, there are trillions of chemicals that modern day scientists have no idea that exist inside of us. They need a mixture of concentration, right living, right thinking, and right action. One needs to be aware of how incredible this human body is. We should take a look at the great mystics of the past and see what they have done and said about the ways to discover your true nature. Currently, man's chemistry set in a state of 1 to 100 is probably around a 1. We are barely functioning properly. We bicker and fight with one another. We even voted in a president who loves to be a bully. He could tell all the lies he wanted, and many people didn't care. We live in a world where we will soon have trillionaires. If I give you $100,000 a year or 34 million years, that would be $1 trillion. When the chemistry set is not functioning properly, we become consumers upon the land. We are sawing off the branch that we are sitting on. I heard this expression 50 years ago, and really nothing much has changed since then. A baby comes into this world with perfect chemistry set. One comes in with a hardware, software, and operating system. As we get older with our neglect, we never bother to turn the computer on. We let our life be run on remote control. We think this is the only way we can live. It's some If someone says something different and outside the box, we will have a scorn on our face. We don't want anyone to buck the system. We are satisfied with the misery that we're in. At least the misery is common and known. We fear the unknown. That is the problem, my friend. The great mystics of old thought outside the box. Can you imagine that the Taoists discovered the electrical system of the human body thousands of years ago? They understood the channels inside of them. They knew there were rivers and streams inside of us. These rivers and streams were life force energy keeping us alive. And in the same way, the yogis and the Jains discovered the chakra systems and the 72,000 nadis that exist inside of us. Mind you, you can't see them physically with your eyes. There are no known instruments yet that can show you. The mystics of old and modern day scientists knew about the quantum field. The mystics of old knew how to tap into that field moment by moment while we are alive. The great Taoists talked about being in harmony with nature and the universe. They knew this was our true nature. Even in China, they had the same problems we have today. The majority of the population wasn't interested in the slightest. Quite frankly, they could care less about this. This attitude still is carried on today. Maybe today it is more prevalent. At the same time, since the advent of the internet, I see incredible hope for humanity. Millions of people are waking up from their slumber. When I came back from India 50 years ago, I was still in my teens. Back then, you were considered strange if you practiced yoga and meditated. It was outside mainstream norms. Fast forward 50 years, then now it exists everywhere. Something is happening around the world today. The snowball is gathering more snow along the way down the mountain. It seems to be nothing can stop it. We are going from darkness to light. This is an incredible time for man. These books are meant for you to ponder them over. There is a meaning behind each book that will help you to learn your personal journey in life. Mind you, I write these books for myself because I'm always learning. That is my mindset. One can never clap your hands and say, I know it all. I have nothing new to learn. If you find yourself in that state of mind, the universe will teach you a fine lesson in life. We must be humble in life. The universe is humble. We have had our share of egotistical leaders leading us to war for thousands of years to no avail. Many people think that humbleness and kindness is a sign of weakness. I say quite the opposite. In the midst of adversity, it is extremely difficult to remain humble and kind. Just think, getting angry is so easy to do. You don't have to do anything to get angry. Your mind and body will automatically react. Countries have gone to war, and just one moment of a ruler getting angry over something, this has led to millions of people dying over the years since we've been fighting. We have all this technology, and yet it's being used against us. We are losing our freedoms every day. The more a society gets highly advanced with technology, the more a society needs to be in harmony with nature and the universe. Without this, a society will be dealt a hard lesson. We have been going through many times of crisis, and it seems history is always repeating itself. The same tapes get played over and over again. We never seem to learn from our mistakes. We make the same mistakes over and over again. Unfortunately, we think the mistakes we are making are only new mistakes, not old ones. In our history classes, we learn and memorize the facts. Can you imagine how incredible it would be if in our every history class we could stop and ponder, how could this be prevented? Not only back now, but in the present moment. How can this be prevented? We should take a look at our political system and see it no longer supports us at all. When we have two political parties that are constantly fighting and bickering one another, when both sides refuse to compromise and constantly place blame and point fingers at each other. This has been going on for a very long time. In my eyes, any problem has a practical solution. We can solve these world problems if we unite with each other. When we go from me to we, that will be a step in the right direction. If the quantum field contains eternity, that will probably mean that there have been countless universes existing before us. Can you imagine they probably had the same type of problems that we had? Nobody gets a free ride in life. A society has to go from darkness to light. Recently, I read more about the story of Helen Keller and her teacher Anne Sullivan. And Helen found out that took her around 1,000 times falling down the ground. And yet, somehow, the answer came to him. Incredible transformation took place. Still, they had to fall 1,000 times more for another one to occur. This is why I don't lose hope for humanity. These 1,000 times we fall down are blessings in disguise. They help us to transform us. They help us to fine-tune the guitar of life. They are needed to recalibrate the mind and body. We are going from me to we. Who knows how long it will take? Karma Mudra and the Sublime, a journey of spiritual union. In the realm of Tibetan Buddhism, there exists a profound practice known as Karma Mudra, which translates to action seal or deed seal. This spiritual practice is intricately tied to the pursuit of the sublime, offering a unique path towards transcendence and enlightenment. Understanding Karma Mudra. Karma Mudra is not a practice for the faint-hearted. It delves deep into the realms of human desire, energy, and consciousness. At its core, Karma Mudra involves the union of a male and female practitioner, often symbolizing the union of wisdom and compassion. The sublime and the sacred union. In Karma Mudra, the sublime is discovered through the sacred union of two individuals who have cultivated a deep spiritual connection. This practice is rooted in the belief that when two souls come together in a state of pure awareness and devotion, they can transcend the limitations of the physical world and touch the sublime. The profound symbolism. The act itself is highly symbolic, representing the union of opposites, the merging of wisdom and compassion, and the realization of the interconnectedness of all things. The union is seen as a divine dance, where the physical becomes a vessel for the spiritual. Transcending dualities. Karma Mudra challenged the conventional dualities of sacred and profane, desire and spirituality. It teaches us that within the most intimate and passionate of human experience, there lies a pathway to the sublime. The role of meditation. Meditation plays a crucial role in Karma Mudra. It is through meditation that practitioners cultivate mindfulness, awareness, and a deep understanding of their desire. By bringing this awareness into the act of union, they aim to transcend the ordinary and touch the sublime. The sublime is liberation. In Karma Mudra, the sublime is not merely a momentary experience, it is the path to liberation. Through their practice, individuals seek to break free from the cycles of suffering and rebirth, realizing their innate Buddha nature and merging with the ultimate reality. Controversy interpretation. It is important to note that Karma Mudra is a highly esoteric and controversial practice, often misunderstood or misinterpreted. Its teachings are reserved for advanced practitioners under the guidance of a qualified master. It is not meant for casual exploration or sensationalism. Conclusion. Karma Mudra is a profound and complex practice deeply rooted in Tibetan Buddhist traditions. It challenges our conventional understanding of desire, spirituality, and the sublime. While it not be a path for everyone, it serves a reminder that the search for the sublime can take us to unexpected places, even within the most intimate aspects of our human experience. It is a testament to the depth and diversity of a spiritual practice that exists in our world, each offering a unique perspective on the journey to the sublime. Metaphysical meaning of water. Metaphysical meaning of water. Water. Metta. Water in its different aspects represents weakness and negativeness, cleansing, mental potential, and in some cases, life or vital energy. The waters of Genesis 1:6-7 represents unexpressed potential, possibilities in mind. There must be a firm starting point established. This point, or filament, is faith moving on the uniform capacities of spirit consciousness. In every mental proposition, we have an above and a below. Above the filament, or the unexpressed capacities, waters of the conscious mind, resting in faith in divine mind. Below the filament are the unexpressed capabilities, waters of the subconscious mind. The seas of Genesis 1:10 represents the unified state of mind. We say that a man is at sea when he is in doubt about a mental process. In other words, he has not established the thought in line with the principles involved. He is unstable. The sea is capable of production, but must come under the dominion of the formative power of mind, the imagination. Water the sea in Mark 6:47-51 represents mental potentiality. It can also be understood as negation. The raised thoughts have formed a set of thought, and to walk over it safely requires that one have faith in oneself. Faith necessary to accomplish so great a work comes from understanding, an understanding of God and man and the laws of master given to man. God is substance, under, stare, to state. He is the underlying principle of the universe, upholding all things by his word of power, by the omnipresent energy that permeates all creation. An understanding of God in his true character establishes the minds firmly in faith and causes the feet to walk safely over the sea of the mixed negative thoughts of the race. It is not necessary to walk on material water to follow Jesus. His walking on water is a lesson in spiritual overcoming. When we have found the spirit of the law, the material expression adjusts itself. We live constantly in a sea of thought that is moved on by every impulse of the mind. There are greater storms on land than on sea, and they are far more destructive because of the many minds reacted by the psychic waves. Man needs every day the saving call. Be out of good cheer. It is, be not afraid. The majority of man tries to sail the ocean of life without the sustaining power of spirit, but eventually they always go down in a troubled sea. Even those who have been taught of the masters are still filled with doubt and fears when storms arise, and instead of reality, they see an apparition. But the Christ mind is not an apparition, it is a mighty power. And when we have faith in all the discordant elements of our life are quieted, and we reduce to harmony and wholeness everything that our peace-giving thoughts touch. Water is one of the phases represents negativeness. The individual who allows himself to become negative to the good finds himself uncertain and unstable in his mind, and often his boat becomes so submerged in the water of negation that his physical condition is low. Weak sympathy with error and the results of error helps to produce this condition. To be positive in the good, it is very necessary that one have right ideas of God, that one knows Him as good. The mind and the body are often toned up by one's thinking of God as divine law. One's understanding to be divine law frees the mind from sentimental ideas as God solely is love. It is these sentimental ideas that make humans sympathy. God is our Father, and He is in His place to instruct and discipline us in righteousness. Those who will not learn their lessons in easy ways will have to learn them in hard ways, and we shall not be sentimental, sympathetic with those who make severe corrections necessary. Weak, teary sympathy is just one of the ways in which we bring floods upon ourselves. Water often brings up and dissolves old root states of consciousness in the individual. Just as the flood dissolved and washed away the old conditions that the continued air force of individuals had formed. Water is symbolic as weakness, lack of stability. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel. In Mark, it is stated that the disciples went to recognize the man in whose home they were to eat the Passover by his carrying a pitcher of water. This meaning is that we should meet the error throughout at the weakest point in consciousness. The error thought to be meat in this case was designated as Judas, one of the disciples who was possessed of a devil. This means that Jesus had discovered that he had one point in this character that was not yet cleared and spiritualized by the power of the Word or the regenerating thought given by the Father. He said on a former occasion that his disciples' facilities were all clean throughout the power of the Word, save this one. So Jesus had to meet in the Judas faculty the reaction of an error thought that was working there for the personal or adverse side of extremes. Water represents material cleansing, and fire represents spiritual cleansing. When John the Baptist baptized with water, he washed away the sins of external character. He did not enter into the subconscious. It takes something more powerful than water to purify the error conditions accumulated by the soul in the many incarnations. The presence of God through Christ is necessary to purify this part of man. Water also represents the great mass of thoughts that conform to an environment. Every thought leaves its form in the consciousness, and all the weak characteristic words and expressions gather in the subconscious mind as water gathers in holes. When we get discouraged or disappointed and give up, the undertow of of life sweeps this flood of negative thought over us, and we are conscious of bodily weakness of some sort. Then, if we get scared, there is trouble ahead. When we know the truth and brace up, however, the waters are confirmed to their natural channels again, and our strength is restored. It is the Lord that responds under the divine law to our thoughts and word. Those who believe through their words are the ones that demonstrate when one is so attached to properly or to position that its loss takes away courage and ambition. The functions of the body sympathize with the negative thought and expresses in like manner. Living water, John 4:12, signifies the inspiration of spirit, also life. In the Revelation 22:17, we read, "He that will, let him take the water of life freely." Raising the chrism. The Bible is a manual about physiological regeneration and astrology written in code, providing us a path to enlightenment, atonement. 99% of the people believe the Bible is a historical book to be taken literally. It's not. It's about you and your path to enlightenment. You are the protagonist. No one's coming to save you. All these parables were written about and for you. The tree of life. The temple of God is your body, not a building. Of course, you believe we evolved from biological sludge 3 billion years ago. This doesn't make any sense. Now, we never taught this information because the powers that be don't want you to understand what, what you are. They like you confused, distracted, and deceived, which is why you give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. For the past 500 years, it was the church's role to mislead the masses. Now, the scientificism and New Age community has gleefully taken over that role. I digress, but regardless of what you believe to be undeniable truth, this is pretty interesting to think about, and the ultimate gift if you can assimilate. Seed, Word, and God are all synonymous of one and the same thing, the wonderful creative substance, the universal essence from which all things are brought forth, in which all things are in the scriptures, or allegories and parables of the Bible, are the only writings that give us information as to what the Word of God is. Therefore, in this book, we will quote what is written then in regard to it. Seed is the cause, the nucleus of everything. Therefore, a seed is the beginning. In the beginning was the Word. The fluid, oil, or marrow which flows down the spinal cord comes from the upper brain, the Creator or Father, the Most High, and is known in psychology as ovum or generic seed, that like life essence which creates the human forms of corruptible flesh. In the Greeks from which the New Testament was translated, this marrow is called Christ, which is the Greek word for oil. When the oil is refined, transmuted, lifted up, raised, it becomes so highly vitalized that it regenerates the body and overcomes the last enemy, death. Primitive Christians, the Essenes, fully realized and taught the great truth that Christ was a substance, an oil or ointment contained specifically in the spinal cord. Consequently, in all parts of the body and every nerve in the body is directly or indirectly connected with the wonderful river that flows out of Eden, the upper brain, to water the garden. The early Christians knew that the scriptures, whether written in ancient Hebrew or the Greek, were allegories, parables, or fables based on the human body, fearfully and wonderful made. These adepts knew that the secretion, grain matter creative, which secretes from the cerebellum, was the source and cause of the physical expression called man, and they knew that the river or Jordan was symbolized in the spinal cord, and that the dead seed was used to symbolize the sacred plexus at the base of the spinal column, where the Jordan spinal cord ends, typifying the entrance of Jordan into the Dead Sea. The Holy Land, the thick, oily, and salty substance composing the sacred solar plexus. Kata equina, tail of the horn, may be a likely unto crude petroleum. Petra, mineral or salt, and oleum, Latin, for all, and the thinner substance, oil or ointment in the spinal cord, may be compared with coal oil, and when this oil is carried up and crosses the Ida and Pingala, two fluid nerves that end in a cross in medulla oblongata, where it connects the cerebrum. Golanka, the piece of the skull, this fluid is refined, as coal oil is refined to produce gasoline, a higher rate of motion that causes the ascension of the airship. When the oil ointment is crucified, to crucify means to increase in power 1,000-fold, not to kill it. It remains 2 days and a half, the moon's period, in a sign in the tomb cerebrum, and the third day ascends to the pineal gland that connects the cerebellum with the obvious thalamus, the central eye, and the throne of God, that is the chamber overstopped by the hallowed, caused by the curve of the cerebellum. This most high of the body, which is the temple of the living God, the living vital substance, which is a participation of the breath of life, breatheth into man, therefore the whole ghost or breath. The pineal gland is the pinnacle of the temple, the modus operandi by which the oil of the spinal cord reaches the pineal gland is described in what follows. There is no name under heaven whether ye may be saved except Christ, Jesus Christ, and then crucified. Correct rendering of the Greek text. Every 29½ days, when the moon is in the sign of the zodiac, that the sun was, and at the birth of nature, there is a seed or psychophysical germ born in the or out of the solar plexus, the manger, and this seed is taken up by the nerves or branches of the pineal gastric nerve and becomes the fruit of the tree of life, or the tree of good and evil. If saved and cast upon the water's circulation to reveal the pineal gland, and evil if eaten or consumed in sexual expression on the physical plane, or by alcoholic drinks, or gluttony that causes ferment, acid, and even alcohol in internal tracts. Thus, no drunkard can inherit the kingdom of heaven, for acids and alcohol cut or chemically spilt the oil that unites with the mineral salts in the body, and this produces the monthly seed. On either side of the thalamus in the head is a gland known as the psychology as the pineal on the posterior, and the pituitary on the other side of the thalamus. The pineal is cone-shaped and secretes a yellow or golden fruit. The pituitary body opposite is elongated in shape, and it contains a white secretion like milk. The fluids that are found in both these bodies come from the same source, namely the colostrum, which means barrier or closure, and is referred to as a cloister for the very good reason that a precious and holy thing is secured or secluded there. Santa Claus or Santa Claus is another term for this precious fluid, which is indeed a holy gift in the body of each one of us. The precious fluid which flows down from the colostrum separates, partly going into the pineal gland and part to the pituitary body, and thus being special laboratories of the head, differentiate the fluid from the colostrum, and it takes on the colors above mentioned, and in the pineal gland becomes yellow and has electric properties. The pituitary body, having the milk-like fluid, has magnetic properties. These two glands are the male and female, the Joseph and Mary of the physical body, and are the parents of the spiritual son, born in the solar plexus of each human being, commencing about the age of 12. This yellow and white material which is the milk and honey referred to in the Bible, the children of Israel, having been given the promise of return to this land flowing with milk and honey, at least reaches the solar plexus via semi-lunar gargangia. The Bethlehem of the physical body in Hebrew, Bethlehem means house. Beth of bread, leaven, I am the bread of life, said the allegory Jesus. In the solar plexus is a thimble-shaped depression, a cave, or manger, and in this is deposited the physical, psycho, scene, or holy child born of this immaculate conception. This psychophysical seed is also called fish, as it has the color, has an odor of fish, and is formed in the midst of the waters, the pure water. Jesus is a fish in the midst of the waters, St. Augustine. Before birth, the human fetus floats like a fish in the fluids by which it is surrounded. And as it is with the child formed in the generative place, so it is with the spiritual child born in the solar plexus, the Bethlehem. Joseph and Mary, by the furnishings, the material of the spiritual child, which was to redeem the child or body formed in generation, paid the symbolic redemption money. The Sacred Secret by Doreen and Agostino. According to Santos Bonaccini, an ancient Hermetic wisdom, our bodies are alchemical instruments. We have the ability to turn lead into gold. There are truths known and hidden that are so sacred, and I feel like we should be learning this kind of stuff in school from early age. We should advance kids even faster, I say. This because kids really don't have it figured out. They have no limits. They have no conditioned limiting beliefs about money or possibilities. It's not some type of religion. It is esoteric truth and forbidden knowledge. I rely on my intuition a lot, and everything about this information resonates with me on many levels. I encourage readers to keep an open mind and have an awareness of your inner voice as you look over the included blog post video. Santos puts emphasis on the ideas and understanding of as above, so below, which if you don't know about, you will certainly find out what it's all about if you take the time to check out some of his videos. Most of his recent ones are shockingly eye-opening. Your body is the Holy Land. Accordingly to said source, there is a sacred secret kept from the masses. That secret is in the esoteric science of psychological regeneration. Yep, you heard that right. Regeneration. Apparently, our body has the ability to produce new blood and awaken our dormant brain cells as the final product. The sacred science of physiological regeneration is also spoken about in the Bible as allegoric, symbolic stories. There's so much deeper meaning to it. Some of our ancient ancestors used this science to live for hundreds and even thousands of years. When the new blood is produced, the old toxic blood is disposed of by the body's own methods. You might be asking yourself, okay, so how does it work? I was getting to that point. The ancient sacred knowledge has to do with astrology and how everything astrology can save you. It is not some rubbish shield science. Astrology is an ancient term. Astro meaning the stars, and lology is the science of. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci knew of these secrets. 12 times out of the year, or once a month, there is a secretion from your cerebellum when the moon is in the sun sign that were born under. I happen to be an Aquarius and have an Aquarius sun sign. To find out when the moon is in your sun sign, click here. This is the story of Jesus and his 12 apostles. And funny how the sun is also compared to being symbolized as Jesus. The sun passes through 12 signs of the zodiac throughout the year. This is also indicative of as above, so below concept. Oil of the Christ. This is the holy oil that is called Christos in Greek. This is the story of the Christ within all of us. The oil is secreted by the cerebellum from the holy clausum or Santa Clarita. This story of Santa Claus comes from the inner science because Santa is bringing spiritual presence down your chimney. From the cerebellum claustrum, it is then differentiated in the pineal gland and pituitary glands. These glands are known as Joseph and Mary. The pineal gland releases a masculine electrical portion, which is known as honey, and the pituitary gland releases the female magnetic portion, milk. The sacred heavens are also in the holy portions of our brains. This is the land flowing with milk and honey. The pineal gland is connected to the Pingala nerve. The pituitary gland is connected to the Ida nerve. These are known as the Kundalini and the Kunda buffer. These nerves extend all the way down the spine and the tree of life. These nerves go down to the solar plexus and sacral arm of our body's lower vertebrae. The sacral plexus holds very strong sexual energy. That is a beautiful energy that, when harvested, can turn into electrical charge that this brings up to the brain. The solar plexus and sacral plexus area is known as Bethlehem, the God brain. It is important to abstain from the release of any precious fluids when the time comes for the seed to be implanted in your sacred plexus. If we waste it, we'll have to wait another month. We are surprised to return some. We are supposed to return some of the energy up. Death occurs when the oil dries up. What's interesting is that the Eastern world still has applied knowledge of the retention and transmuting of these beautiful energies we all possess. Some benefits are that increases testosterone in males. Ladies can also return this energy back up to the brain. Alcohol and acidic producing foods are also detrimental to this precious oil that comes from the cerebellum. We have four brains. The cerebellum is the God brain. The cerebellum is the man brain. The cerebellum is the man brain, which is connected to the lower mind. The third brain is the medulla oblongata, which is responsible for involuntary actions such as breathing. The fourth brain is the solar plexus, which has to do with the lower mind, greed, animalistic behavior, etc. For its most part, we are all stuck in the lower mind. I like to search for this type of information because I'm willing to strip my ego and experience blissful, unconditional consciousness. When you return the oil back up, the frequency rises and the vibration increases. By the time it reaches the 33rd vertebrae, it is crucified as the panoptic nerve crosses over and connects to the pineal and pituitary gland. That's all. That oil of the Christ lights up the optic thalamus gland, which is otherwise known as the light of the world, at the point of crucifixion. Then it stays in limbo, dead, so to speak, for 3 days, like how Christ died at the age of 33. This takes place at the 33rd vertebrae. Funny how all this ties in, isn't it? Either this is speaking to your higher self, or you are in a complete denial of what's in this post and unique post alike. Spiritual illumination. At this point, where the oil exponentially speeds up to hit the pineal gland, all of our millions or billions of dormant brain cells are active, and we are now operating at the God's brain level from the cerebrum. This would be activation of your true spiritual self, and you will remember who you are and why you're incarnated. The knowledge located in our brains comes out. It is safe to say that the video embedded on this post is worth a watch. There are two parts. Santo Bocini has additional related videos about this sacred secret. One final note: the secret unlocks the secret of the Ark of the Covenant. In the Bible, the ark is built with 2 cherubim and the 2 governing angels. This is the cerebrum with its 2 hemispheres that cover over the cerebellum and the inner brain. At the end of the day, we shouldn't expect a third-party savior to come and save us. I do believe in divine intervention, though. The science gives us the knowledge required to save our own asses. This ancient sacred knowledge is kept from us, and one day, in the near future, we will be free from oppression. Your body is the Holy Land.
I remember one event which totally changed my life. In 6th grade, my brother and I had a paper route. My brother wanted to buy a surfboard. My parents said, "Save your money and you can." At that time, I didn't care one way or the other. On Christmas Day in 7th grade, my parents gave us money towards our brand new surfboard. From that moment on, something clicked in my consciousness. It took us only 3 months to buy our new boards. We bought a Gordy surfboard in Huntington Beach. These boards were priceless for my brother and I. My father would take us after school and on weekends. My life from then on was of the sea. I felt totally at home. All my problems would disappear into the ocean. My happiest moments in junior high school and high school revolved around the ocean. It's hard to explain the excitement of riding a wave. Such joy and happiness comes from this experience. As a child, surfing was a form of meditation with me. I would love to wake up early in the morning and my dad would drive us to the beach. I loved the early mornings. It was a spiritual experience to be in the ocean and experience the harmony of nature. During my summer of my 7th grade, my brother and I would be dropped off at a beach called Big Corona. We would surf for 5 hours, and then we would paddle home about 4 miles. We would arrive home exhausted, and my dad sometimes made homemade pizza for lunch. We had a great summer. Surfing taught me to leave all my troubles on land and to be in the majesty of the ocean. The ocean was a great place for healing. It was alive. I will never forget my first wave riding a surfboard. My dad gave my brother and me a surfing lesson from the famous surfer of the time, Mickey Munoz. We got out of school early one day and drove 45 minutes south to a beach named Doheny. We waxed our boards and paddled out to the waves. I remember when it was my turn, Mickey Munoz gently pushed me into a small wave. It was probably 1 foot, but this 1 foot wave gave me such an exhilaration. I felt I was riding a 10-foot wave. Inside I was screaming, yes, yes, yes. There was so much joy and bliss that I knew I was hooked. Surfing from that moment on became part of my life. Years later, I feel so grateful with my connection with surfing in the sea. It literally saved my life. It was my home and refuge. It was a place on earth where I could go and be alone with myself. I developed a strong bond with the sea. Surfing at that time represented our primordial roots with life. All life is based upon water. Without water, our whole world would die. How incredible that human beings can ride the waves of life. We take it so much for granted. I feel that without surfing, I probably never would have survived my teenage years. Surfing was a vehicle to experience something far greater than I learned in schools. It touched the very source of life itself. I needed in my life practical ways to experience the glories of life, and surfing could provide me with that experience. I knew as a youth that we're all going through the motions of life. We were taught to memorize and not to question our existence. So many times the dreamers would get scolded, that's how it is. Don't ask questions, just carry on. Surfing allowed me to ask questions and to experience the wonders of life. I knew I was protected and my life was on track. Years later, I realized that surfing brought me in contact with Gaia, the Mother Earth. I could go surfing and all the troubles of life would go away. The planet is alive and conscious. I learned this at a young age. Surfing brought me the experience that the ocean is alive. It communicates to you by the power of love. Talk to any surfer and they will say the same thing. Maybe they can't put words to it, but they will agree that the ocean is a marvelous place. One experience I remember in 8th grade was every day I would see this girl named Patty Tucker going down the hall between the 4th or 5th class. We would simply smile at each other. I took her to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Years later, I saw her at our 20th reunion and both of us remembered how powerful that experience was. It's amazing how some experiences get carried along with you the rest of your life. I'm sure years later, this experience will linger. How powerful we are humans. Just a mere look and no words can generate such a powerful experience. Our feeling was an interconnectedness. It was beyond boy and girl. It was a simple recognition that we are alive and we both recognize the beauty of it. It was beyond words. Not one word was ever spoken between us in that hallway. How incredible, years later, I can still feel the magic of those moments. Joyce Caldwell. I have known Joyce since 5th grade. She always been kind to my brother and I. For example, she knew my brother and I loved to surf. Her dad was a member of the Mackerel Corporation, who at that time owned the Hollister Ranch, or known as simply the best surfing spot in California. It was on private property, and you needed permission to get in. If you had a boat, it took probably around an hour to boat it. Joyce was kind enough to ask her dad, and he said yes. My brother and I went to Joyce's house and met her dad. My first impression was, wow, what a kind man. He had such a kind demeanor. So this is where Joyce gets her kindness from. I never met Joyce's mom, but I knew Joyce's brother Scott, and he had the same kind demeanor as the rest of the family. How kind was it for Joyce to ask her dad? She didn't get anything out of it. She was kind and didn't think about herself. Same goes for Joyce's dad. The Mackerel Corporation owned the place and could have said, absolutely no, you're too young. We were only 16 years old. But her dad was kind. I felt he included my brother and I part of his family. He trusted us and gave us permission. My brother and I had many great adventures surfing their ranch. Imagine given the keys to heaven. This is what it was like. We surfed a place that was so pristine. During the spring, there were incredible wildflowers. My brother and I were awestruck by the beauty. At night, thousands of stars were in the sky. At times, we were the only ones on this beach for miles. We could pick and choose whatever surf break we wanted. Years later, each time I see Joyce, I thank her and her dad for such a precious gift. Kindness goes a long ways.
The fantastic connection between the Sublime and the Monroe Institute. In the land of discovery and dreams, there is a place called the Monroe Institute, where something truly magical happens. Let's explore this enchanting world and find out how it is connected to the Sublime. The Monroe Institute, a place of wonder. The Monroe Institute is like a special school. But it's not your ordinary school with classrooms and textbooks. It's more like a place where people go to have extraordinary adventures, even though they never leave their chairs. Exploring the sublime. Imagine you're on a spaceship zooming through the stars, or you're swimming with dolphins in a deep blue ocean. These adventures are not in a book or on a screen, but happening right inside your mind. This is where the sublime comes in. The sublime is a bit like a magic door to your imagination. It helps you explore amazing places and feelings that you might never have known were inside of you. The mind's playground. At the Monroe Institute, they use something called binaural beats to open the magic door to your imagination. Binaural beats are like special sounds that help your brain relax and take you on an incredible journey without leaving your seat. Imagine you have headphones on, and each ear hears a different sound. These sounds work together in your brain to create a kind of wave that helps you relax deeply. It's like a gentle lullaby for your mind. Adventures beyond imagination. Once your mind is relaxed, you can go on amazing adventures. It's like reading a story, but you're the hero or heroine of the tale. You can travel through time, meet wise beings, or even visit far-off planets, all in your mind. The Monroe Institute teaches people how to use these special sounds to explore their inner world. It's like having a superpower to travel anywhere you can dream of, right from the comfort of your own chair. A world of possibilities. So you see, the Monroe Institute helps people discover the sublime within themselves. It's a place where your imagination can run wild and you can uncover hidden treasures of joy, wisdom, and wonder. Just like a treasure hunter searching for precious gems, people at the Monroe Institute search within their own minds for the most beautiful and sublime experiences. It's a place with a power. It's a place where the power of your imagination knows no bounds. Conclusion. The Monroe Institute is like a magical gateway to the sublime, a place where anyone, young or old, can explore their inner worlds, go on fantastic adventures, and discover the incredible treasures hidden within their minds. It's a reminder that our imaginations are a gift that can take us to a place beyond our wildest dreams, and it's all just a pair of headphones away. Closing. Hopefully this entire book has been a wink wink that the sublime is in you and all around you in your daily life. It's there when you freak out. It is there when you get stressed out about life. It's there when life throws curveballs at you. You can never get away from that. Everybody gets curveballs thrown at them. That is the nature of the universe. Being in a sublime state of mind requires being in the now. That may seem like pretty words. That may seem like fun. Can't believe you said that. People have been talking about this for thousands of years. And unfortunately, it goes in one ear and out the other ear. Hopefully, this will make some dent in you. And you might actually have the experience that there is more to this existence. Good luck on your adventures in life. I really mean that. We are all on the same boat. Might as well get along well with each other.